Hey Dragon Slayers! Today's video is about carbohydrate restriction and protein's effect on insulin. Interestingly, when it comes to insulin sensitivity, our fat tissues marches to the beat of its own drum. Unlike the body as a whole, which is slightly more insulin resistant in the morning, our fat tissue is slightly more insulin sensitive in the morning and least insulin sensitive in the evening. Because insulin inhibits fat burning and promotes fat cell growth, eating an insulin spiking meal in the morning could add more fat to our frames compared to eating it in the evening. Once we appreciate that too much insulin is the main driver of insulin resistance, the chain of events suggesting a solution is all too obvious. Eating fewer carbohydrates, reducing blood sugar, and that reduces blood insulin, which also improves insulin sensitivity. With a lowering of insulin comes a sort of resetting or resensitizing of the insulinostat. To really appreciate the relevance of the food that we eat, we need to establish the effect of each macronutrient on blood insulin. Dietary protein elicits a mild insulin effect about 2 times that of fasting levels. Although this depends on blood glucose levels, carbohydrate, on the other hand, can elicit a remarkable increase in insulin, more than 10 times above normal, with the height and length of the spike being highly variable depending upon the carbohydrate and a person's insulin sensitivity. Dietary fats elicit no insulin effect at all. Thus, a diet that limits the insulin spiker, carbohydrates, especially refined, and increases the insulin dampeners, proteins and fat, especially unrefined, is one that should improve insulin sensitivity. And as we'll see, it does. There are several relevant topics to discuss with regards to a carbohydrate restricted diet, including how the effects on insulin resistance and overview of ketones, body weight control, and much more. So, how does protein really increase insulin? So, how much? By how much? It depends. The overwhelming consensus with dietary protein is that it causes a significant spike in insulin. However, this is highly dependent on the need for gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis is the process whereby the liver naturally makes glucose for the body when there isn't enough coming in from the diet. Due to gluconeogenesis, eating carbohydrates is unnecessary, though they can still certainly be a pleasant part of the diet. When a person who eats a normal carbohydrate diet ingests protein, they experience a robust rise in insulin. However, when a person who eats a relatively fewer carbs, they have little to no insulin response from protein. The main reason for these different insulin responses is likely based on whether or not gluconeogenesis is needed. When we eat less glucose, glucose neogenesis picks up the slack, keeping our blood glucose perfectly normal. But insulin inhibits gluconeogenesis so strongly. An insulin spike with eating protein in the context of a low carbohydrate diet would be dangerous. We would deprive the body of its natural and inherent glucose source. So, how much does protein really increase it? Again, it all depends. So, that's what I've got for you guys today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. And remember, guys, that together, you and I will slay the dreaded diabetes dragon.